Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some entitled parent stories, and our first story of the day is by Painsomnia. Karen expects total stranger to babysit her child, even after being told no. So this is a weird one. Not my story, but a friend who messaged me right after it happened to vent, cause what the actual freak. So Karen moved into the apartment next to friends a couple of weeks ago. Karen has struck up short, polite conversations with friend just 2 times in that period, with the second being yesterday, the day before this whole fiasco unfolded. This morning at about 9 a.m., while friend was having a nice Saturday breakfast, she gets up at 6 a.m. on weekends, so this was a weekend lie-in for her, someone started aggressively banging on her front door. When friend answered, Karen was standing there with sweet kid, 5-year-old girl, who had a little backpack on. Sounding very flustered, Karen said she was sorry to have to ask this with no notice, but could friend watch sweet kid for a few hours because Karen had somewhere really important to be. Now, something you need to understand about friend is that she can't stand kids and has no idea how to deal with them. Like, she tenses up and gets super awkward if a kid so much as waves at her in the supermarket. Friend is also disabled. She uses a motorized wheelchair sometimes and a walking cane for short distances or when she's just pottering around her own home. She lives with her girlfriend, who is also her carer. Her chronic illnesses involve fainting spells and a lot of brain fog. So by her account, she's absolutely not someone who should be left in charge of a child. Karen has seen friend using both her wheelchair and her cane, and has seen friend's girlfriend, who was at work when all this happened, helping her in and out of their car. So friend responded with a firm no, explaining that her medical conditions meant that sweet kid would not be safe in her care, and that she's not well enough at the moment to have any guests, let alone an unattended kid in her home anyway. Karen immediately flipped from pleading and simpering to hand-on-hip indignation, at this point accusing friend of faking her disabilities. Because, of course, if she can walk at all, then she obviously doesn't actually need a wheelchair, right? And threatened to report her to Centrelink welfare if friend didn't watch sweet kid for her. Never mind the fact that friend isn't on welfare. Her girlfriend has a high-paying job and friend works somewhere between part-time and full-time hours from home most weeks. She's a goddarn machine and I don't know how she manages it. Newsflash, not all disabled people are unable to work. Although, of course, getting employers to actually hire us is another matter, cause ableism. So friend basically said, "I'm not on Centrelink and I don't appreciate being blackmailed. Find another babysitter because I am not it," and closed her door. Karen kept banging on the door for a bit, but eventually left. About 20 minutes later, friend heard a very faint, timid tapping on her front door. She said if she hadn't been so close to it, she probably wouldn't have heard it. She sighed heavily, having kinda already guessed what was happening. She opened the door and there was sweet kid, who had clearly been crying, clutching the shoulder straps of her little backpack. She said very softly, "Mummy said I could stay here today." Now, like I said, friend cannot stand kids, but even she said that sweet kid was an absolute darling throughout this entire fiasco, and the most she ever did was cry. Because her mother is clearly a goddarn monster. Karen had driven off and sent sweet kid to friend's door, clearly thinking that if she left friend with no alternative, she'd just play along and babysit sweet kid for her anyway, especially since friend had literally no way of contacting Karen. Wrong. Friend escaped abusive parents at a young age, and this crap made her furious. She got sweet kid settled in front of the TV with a drink and some snacks and called the police. "Yeah, my neighbor just abandoned her 5-year-old daughter outside of her apartment and the kid showed up at my door asking to come in." When the officers arrived, friend told them the full story, and while they were appalled, she said they weren't surprised. One said, "You'd be shocked at how not rare this kind of thing is," which is honestly kind of the worst part of all of this. The officers took sweet kid with them and were really sweet with her, explaining to her that she wasn't in any trouble and had done the right thing, and that they were there to look after her and find out where her mommy had gone. Friend found out later that they were able to contact Sweet Kid's father, who is currently working on finalizing a divorce from Karen, and was also appalled, but not remotely surprised by what she'd done. Here's hoping he gets full custody of the poor kid after all this. This morning, she had another knock on her door, only it was the dad with Sweet Kid in tow. He went there to apologize for what his ex had done, and so he and Sweet Kid could thank Friend for looking after Sweet Kid and for calling the police. She said he seemed like a good guy who was clearly putting his kid first in all this, which was really reassuring to hear. He told Friend that, according to his lawyer, her calling the police and handling everything the way she had would basically be a gift-wrapped custody battle win for him. Because what the freak kind of court would ever grant Karen custody after the crap she'd pulled? His lawyer was over the moon when the dad called him. Friend also asked the dad what the freak had been so important that Karen had abandoned her own daughter over it. You guys ready for this? It's so goddarn cliche. It was an appointment at a nail salon. She'd brought Sweet Kid several times previously and just demanded that the staff babysit her and refused to even acknowledge the kid during her me time. When she'd called yesterday morning to book a last-minute appointment, 'cause Karens, the staff put their foot down and told her she could no longer bring her kid to her appointments and would be refused service if she did. The dad also said that Karen had shown up so late to the appointment that they'd refused to see her anyway. Again, 'cause Karens. So she abandoned her daughter 'cause she wanted her me time getting her nails done. The dad told Friend that me time is an excuse Karen uses to ignore her kid, basically anytime she feels like it. Do not talk to me during my me time, etc. The dad also asked Friend if she would be okay to help with this custody battle. He said he understood that her health isn't great and that his lawyer had said a written statement would be fine. He said while that probably wasn't essential, since they had the police report, he wanted to have as much evidence on his side as possible, just to be sure. Of course, Friend agreed. Karen hasn't yet shown up at Friend's door to scream at her, so Friend's thinking maybe dealing with the police put some actual fear of consequences into her. We shall see. I will, of course, post further updates if I receive any. If you found yourself in a situation where a neighbor ended up dumping their kid on you, do you think you would then watch the kid for the day until the mom got back? Or would you also go straight to calling the police? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Junebug85. My neighbor wants me to bake a cake for her on her son's birthday. This is so bizarre, I had to post it. My next door neighbor asks me if I would bake a cake for what I thought was her son's birthday. And I said yes and asked her the specifics, flavors, design, etc. When I asked her what she would like me to put on top, she said her name. I laughed, and she said she was serious, that it was the day she gave birth to him, and that's what they celebrate. I figured it was a religious belief and didn't want to offend her, but she said it wasn't and that they celebrate his life by buying him clothes and food and taking care of him, and once a year on the day she gave birth, they buy her gifts and celebrate her accomplishment of bringing him into this world. I was so confused and asked if she wouldn't mind if I baked him one as well, and she snapped at me and said no, that it's not about him, and all he did that day was cry. Is this really a thing? It's not till next month, so I'm not sure if I want to do that to this little boy. It sounds so mean. If it was a religious thing, I wouldn't question it, but this just sounds so entitled and ridiculous. I agree that this seems entitled and ridiculous. Nobody solely celebrates the mom for giving birth to a kid. You celebrate the kid's life. You celebrate that they're a person. You celebrate who they are, that they're here, not the mom. There's already Mother's Day. There's already the mother's own birthday. I'm curious what they do on the mom's birthday. Does the mom still get to have a birthday on their birthday? This next story is by Glitchy Bacon. Crazy neighbor tells daughter that she can play in my garden without permission. I was watching birds in the garden through my window. I was really bored and had nothing to do. I was just about to take a photo of one really pretty bird when my neighbor's kid ran into my garden without permission. She started running around with her bubbles, also scaring the birds off and singing to herself like a lot of kids do. I opened the door and was about to ask her why she was here, but she got scared and ran off. I called the girl's mom, Helen, and asked her why her daughter was in my garden running around. At first, she was confused, but I was sure that it was her kid. She then said, "Oh, now I remember, but why are you calling? Is she not allowed to be there?" I said no, she ran onto my garden without permission and started scaring the birds I was watching. "So, you can watch your dumb little bird some other time. I sent out my daughter onto your garden and you don't have permission to kick her off." I was now really angry. First of all, I did not kick her off. She ran away on her own. Second of all, this is my garden, and I say who is allowed onto here and who is not. You do not have the right to send her here. She seemed offended and hung up. I rolled my eyes and went outside to make sure she didn't come back. I noticed she crushed one of my vegetables I planted. I don't remember what it was, but it was about to be old enough to take out and use. She lived on the other side of the street, but she was with some other neighbors having a talk. Since I was outside now, I saw where this neighbor was and heard her say to her daughter, "You can go in that man's garden, he won't do anything." I was raging. I went closer to her and said, "Helen, I don't know why you think you can buy my Nintendo Switch for $20 and let your daughter on my garden whenever you want. This is not normal and I am sick of you doing these things. I'm not the only neighbor who thinks this, almost half the street agrees. If you want to do this, go ask other neighbors and stop doing it to me." She went silent and kinda red. Her daughter started crying, she cries all the time, and they both stormed away. I heard her shout to me, "My husband is a police officer, and I'll make sure that he will have a word with you." I once again rolled my eyes and also went back home. Very, very entitled. They feel entitled to be allowed to go anywhere, do anything they want, rip people off. I definitely feel for OP because that would suck to have them as a neighbor. And our final story of the day is by Anita Derange. Drama Goblin finally gets told by a medical professional she needs mental help. I've written a handful of times about this particular entitled mom. She is notorious for being difficult. She refuses to clean her own house. She refuses to lift or play with her own children, claiming she is too weak. She has 5 of them. She won't watch them or really do much. She relies on her family and her poor husband to raise them. She recently went to the doctor, a one-time very short appointment, and swore she was diagnosed with complex partial seizures, claiming she was having seizures every 5 minutes. She said her brain was essentially rebooting over and over, and that was why she couldn't do anything adult-like. Now, I am skeptical because she had gone on her own and her husband didn't know what exactly the doctor said. After weeks of medication, Drama Goblin still hasn't cleaned her house, let alone any of the other changes she swore were coming. She lays in bed and online shops all their money away. This can't be her fault, no, it must be in that the medicine isn't working. She goes back to the doctor and they give her a watch-like thing to wear for a bit. The device would track her seizures and alert her and them if she has a bad one. Drama Goblin is sure that her brain is rebooting and so there is no way to get her life together. Instead of trying, she starts hounding her husband to have another baby. That will fix everything. The last 4 did. Her husband doesn't want any more. He's overwhelmed with it all as is. She told him she doesn't care what he wants. I told him to go secretly get snipped. He won't, but he needs to. I'm sure I'll be making a Drama Goblin is pregnant post soon. Anyway, on Drama Goblin's follow-up, her husband goes with her this time. He's concerned because of the things Drama Goblin has done or said. He showed the doctor some video he had of her seizures. The doctor tells Drama Goblin that according to the device, she's not having seizures. Her brain isn't rebooting, that in her professional opinion, she believes Drama Goblin has some undiagnosed mental illness and referred her to a psychiatrist. She was firm, she was kind. Drama Goblin flipped out and told her she was having seizures. The doctor obviously didn't know what she was talking about. She wanted to speak with her boss because of the way she was talking to her. The doctor pretty much told her to go get a second opinion if she didn't believe her, but really pushed seeing someone and getting diagnosed properly. Drama Goblin is pissed. She refuses to contact any psychiatrist. She made an appointment for another doctor and a lawyer because she's convinced this doctor singled her out because she has a disability and can't do certain things. She drives me mad, but darn it if she isn't entertaining. Unfortunately, I think that's kind of how it goes for a lot of people that have mental illnesses. They flat out refuse to believe it, that it's even a possibility, and they especially flat out refuse to see anybody that could diagnose them and continue them on a path to get proper help. And quite frankly, in this case, it doesn't sound like Drama Goblin wants that help. It sounds like Drama Goblin wants to be able to just get away with doing nothing regardless. That's probably the main game here. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like. And if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.